is the UK Brand Show with Penny Williams and Mark Challoner.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Hello, Penny.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good.
New year, new challenges.
Sorry?
New year, new challenges.
Indeed it is. Indeed
Coming
it
out
is.
of lockdown.
Well, let's hope it continues to unlock itself, eh? But on a slight subject, I was talking about being unlocked and getting out. I was in Smithfield or Spitalfields market area by Liverpool Street Station at the weekend. And I was thinking about today's show, and what made me think of it was I passed a store there, which I'd never seen before. I'll guarantee you got to tell me you have now, but I'll guarantee you'd never seen a thing called the Amazon Salon. So Amazon have got a hairdressing salon in London.
No, I haven't. I've seen the new retail shop, but not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the idea is you go in and you can experiment using latest technology. They've got all the different gizmos and gadgets. So you can buy them by scanning the QR codes when you're in there if you want them to take home and do your hair. And you can also, through the mirrors they've got, which are augmented reality mirrors, you can try different hairstyles and colors and stuff before you actually go through the process of doing it. You can see what different hairstyles might look like before they actually start on you. So it was interesting, and what made me think of today's show is because we're all talking about commerce today, aren't we? It came across to me how, Amazon have sort of created this huge disruption, I guess, in the way consumers purchase everything from books to music and now hair, fresh food, and loads of other categories. And, in the consumer world, e-commerce brings, great deals and perhaps more importantly, convenience, which is what we all want, isn't it? And people don't have to visit a physical store anymore, unless it's something like hairdressing, where you have to be. But you can find and purchase stuff what you need online. And, and as we do a lot with the publishing industry, don't we? So, that also taps into what do media companies do with their sales staff in the future. So you're in a situation where a lot of advertising now is beginning to be sold programmatically. So people in agencies will push a button on their computer and they can buy stuff, without actually going, to meet up with the news people. They can actually buy it and buy an audience, which might be a conglomeration of different publishers altogether, just selling a particular audience and segment of an audience. So as it becomes more programmatic, there's less reliance on what you might call the traditional advertiser revenue in future. So, the thought is you need to really look at what the sales team offer in the future. So what should they be selling in future? Should we restructure those sales teams accordingly? Do they have, great experience in terms of how they sell stuff normally in the world of things like commerce? Because all media companies, they sell everything from holidays to particular things such as products, gardening products, flowers, bulbs for your garden, stuff like this. You'd have a relationship with e-commerce companies where they sell stuff to their readers. They've already got an audience which trust them and are loyal to them, so they've got a really good insight to what they might want. So it just made me think that, I was looking at things like BuzzFeed, if you know them as well. They're working in the sort of affiliate and direct e-commerce space, and they're banking on growth in commerce, which is currently its smallest part of the business, to accelerate to its top line growth and part of its sales operation. So it occurred to me, and it's a subject which is hot in the media industry at the moment, in the advertising side, of what do we do with sales teams, ad sales teams in the future? Could they well be positioned to sell deals to businesses, adopting a sort of affiliate role in the e-commerce team, or, is it a revenue stream?
Yeah,
we can exploit more.
I think it will change. And I think going back to your Amazon point, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Is it about experience? Because there's loads of apps where you can look what your hair is going to look like. But what you've described to me is going back to people going there for an experience. And it's the same with salespeople. You know, you have to know what you're buying to be able to self-serve, which for, you know, basic advertising maybe, but as soon as, I mean, you know, with my agency hat on, that's why people come to me to buy media for them, because they don't really necessarily know the audiences, they haven't got the time, they don't know where to place the ads. So I think salespeople will still have a place, but it's going to be very different.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I mean, the thing what you said about experiential as well, it's true, isn't it? Because if you think of the various ways we can sell stuff these days, not just through like the Amazons, but also mobile commerce, that's a fast growing area, social commerce using platforms to, you know, to target and exploit, voice, conversational shopping, you know, currently small, but as customers begin to get used to smart speakers and the whole proliferation of internet connected devices and stuff at home, that's going to change the world. Scan and shop, you know, Amazon shops and stuff, you know, Amazon Fresh and whatever, couponing opportunities. You know, there's a whole wealth of stuff we could be using, which gives a different experience of how you buy stuff. And, you know, a lot of people use things like online now for the purchase bit, but they can use the bricks and mortar store for people to go in and try the stuff on and see it and touch it.
Yeah, you still need to, you still
home.
need to touch it, don't you, and feel it. And
like a newspaper, you still have to touch and feel it in many cases.
Yeah, well, the battery doesn't run out of the newspaper as well. That's the other key thing.
And interestingly, just on that slight tangent but relevant, is I know there's a number of big media companies around the world today who have thought about this. So there's a big newspaper group called Torstar in Canada, it's a Toronto Star newspaper as part of their operation. And they, and not just them, but a number of people, there's a company called NTM in Sweden are doing this. They were saying to themselves, well, look, normally we take big trucks out of this building every day or from our warehouse every day, and we deliver bulk parcels of newspapers to, you know, news agents or delivery points or whatever it might be. But there's big gaps in the day where we don't do anything with those trucks, they just sit there waiting for the next edition or whatever. So why don't we use those trucks to deliver other stuff? And commerce, you know, happens to be one of them. So they're selling bikes and they're selling all sorts of different things now, hampers to people at Christmas and you name it. And it's a new revenue stream for media. And it's just, anyway, it's just interesting because it fits into today, doesn't it, really, and what we're going to talk about. So who we got coming on today?
So we've got Luke and Ian from Alvio coming across today to talk to us about their, well, I won't spoil it too much, but it's all about e-commerce. So have a look at how e-commerce has developed, particularly during the pandemic, and the product and service that they have supporting retailers, and how I suppose they're problem solving as e-commerce has sort of really taken off.
Yeah, great. And do you know these guys from the past?
Well, Ian, we've interviewed before on this show, actually.
You have, I knew that name from somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, Ian Rabbage is ex-P&O and Red Bull and some other blue chip brands. And he's now managing director of Alvio.
Right, well, I think they are here waiting to join us.
Are they in the lobby? Should we let them in?
Let's open the door and let's let them in.
Let's hope they're not on mute.
Here we go.
Hi, Luke.
Hi, Luke. Hello, Ian.
Hello.
Hey,
how are you?
Guys? How are you?
Good to see you, Mark.
You
How's
both
the
well?
skiing?
Well, the conditions are fantastic. Sadly, I've not been able to participate, but my family are having a wonderful time up on the mountain at the moment.
Fantastic.
Brilliant. And are you in less salubrious climes, Luke?
Yeah, I'm in the sunny climes of North Devon in Barnstable at the moment, so not quite as amazing scenery as Ian has, but you know, we've got the beach nearby, so good. Hills aren't quite as high, obviously.
Or alive with the sound of music.
That's true. Yeah, not that either.
We're only about half an hour from Salzburg, so we're very much in that territory.
Very nice too. Very nice. Well, listen, thanks for joining us today. We've been really looking forward. Penny and I were just talking about commerce, just to sort of set the scene. So I was saying what started the conversation was I was in central London the weekend and I saw a store I never knew existed, which is Amazon Salon, which was taking the whole world of hairdressing and having new technologies and new experiences and stuff for people buying a haircut in the central London, and just didn't even know this existed. But it just shows what they've done in terms of commerce, Amazon, in taking this to a whole new world that we've never seen before. And I guess in a slightly different way, that's what you guys are doing too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as we'll sort of come on to fairly soon, the world of commerce has just shifted so much. And if I think back 30 years ago, when I was, first over in the UK launching soft drink brands, and the shoe leather that I had to pound, going from place to place around London and then elsewhere, it's transformed beyond all recognition.
Yeah.
I mean, from that point of view, obviously, e-commerce it started off back in 2007, kind of, with very difficult, to build sites, and obviously with Shopify on the horizon, it's become very, very quick and easy to build those sites, and you've seen the whole industry mature very quickly, and if you're not online, you're not really a business now these days.
Yeah, and the pandemic just sort of accelerated everything, didn't it? We were all moving to be more online, but being stuck at home, e-commerce has just grown in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic was instrumental. I mean, I think there's some stats going around that, I think that there are around about 5 to 10 years worth of, advancement in e-commerce happened in 2 years, which is just astounding. And we've as we've seen that for sure. As our other thing that we do as an agency is running for building Shopify stores, and we've seen a huge amount of influx of new businesses coming on, and that's fantastic. But what it's done is it's increased the competition for everybody, right? Everyone's there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of people trying to compete, and so it's just become a much more competitive space, especially over since COVID.
So do you want to start off by telling us your journey? What is Alvio, what is Shopify, so we understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, so I mean, let's start with Shopify first. Obviously, Shopify is a kind of software as service e-commerce platform, and they came around sort of at a time when it was very difficult to build online stores. You had to kind of learn coding, and you had to be very, very good at kind of the technical capabilities of setting up a server and all that. And I think Toby, the guy that founded Shopify, was like, "This is ridiculous. This needs to be made a lot simpler." And he actually built his own store for a snowboard store. Actually, he was a snowboarder. He built a store to sell snowboards so he could stay snowboarding, keep his season going, and
sell some stuff right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, and then obviously from that point, he kind of built it in such a way that a number of people thought, this is you've simplified e-commerce massively, and Shopify kind of grew out from there. Me and Mike, my business partner who founded Inspire Digital, which is where we came from originally, we kind of cracked onto Shopify very early on. I think we did the 123rd ever store that came off the platform, and they're now up to around about 2 million. And yeah, it was interesting because we were there from the very beginnings of Shopify's growth. And it exploded. There was a period of time where we were doing 1 to 2, 3 stores every month, and then we were having hundreds of inquiries a month, getting businesses up and running, and we could see Shopify really expanding. So over that period of time, our business grew, serving clients wanting to get onto Shopify, and it's been an incredible journey from that point of view. And then just before the pandemic, this is to kind of get into where Alvio came from. We've, obviously through our 10 years as Shopify consultants, we've tried to solve, we have solved many different challenges for businesses coming onto Shopify. And one of the things that we had a client come in who was on Shopify and wanted to work with, I think it was about 6 other businesses, all who were on Shopify. And it just seemed crazy at the time that there wasn't an easy way for these stores to kind of collaborate and work together. It was awkward considering they were on the same platform, and so Mike went over to the whiteboard, as he does. He's our technical guy, very, very clever at systems analysis, and started scribbling this out with our developer on the board. And I kind of wandered over and said, what are you up to here, guys? And this system of connecting stores together was, for this client that's a great system. But then we started thinking about, well, if you start connecting businesses together, that is a very powerful concept, and it creates a huge amount of network effects. So we all started getting very excited about this, delivered this solution for our customer, and then got back to work as client services. And along came the pandemic, put everything on hold. And that was the time that we really dug in and built out the platform, and arrived to where we are today.
Right. So just to be clear, for people that don't know and are not familiar with Shopify, it is as you say, a sort of complete commerce platform, and
Shopify. Everyone gets that one wrong. Shopify, not Spotify. Yes, but everyone does that. Yeah.
Shopify. It's a complete commerce platform, and you can sort of virtually visualize your business, how you want it to look there, and you can sell your stuff through multi-platforms, through webs and through mobile and social media, etc. And you can manage your inventory and charge people, ship things from there as well. So it's a bit of a game changer in itself, isn't it, when it first came out?
Yeah, exactly. And it made it very simple for vendors to start their business. There's a lot of technical complexity behind what you said there, and they're all great things. And, but to actually turn that into something that's very simple, to go and start, Shopify's mantra at the time was, a store in minutes, a business for life, which is quite a nice statement, I think. But it's a great platform, and they really simplified what is a very complex task, building a store.
As you say, you need no programming skills. You can just have a template almost of what your shop looks like, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I kind of think of Shopify as it's kind of the e-commerce utility of, you don't worry about too much about where your electricity comes, you just plug in, right? So it's the same for business owners. They kind of plug into this utility, which is the e-commerce platform that Shopify provides, and off you go. You can build out, your own unique business really quickly.
Yeah. So where do you fit into that picture now going forward?
So Shopify as they were growing, they obviously realized that they were growing very quickly, and one of the first things they did was create a partnership network for people who are experts on the platform, right? So because we were there from very early on, we kind of grew up with Shopify, and they invited us to be part of their Shopify Partners program, which is thousands and thousands of agencies now work on that Partners program. And we were also one of the first to go into their Enterprise Plus commerce groups as well. But essentially what happens is, you can build a store, you can go on and build a store, a business, and you can go and set up Shopify in a day, right? But actually when you start building a business and you start getting up into the higher echelons of your company and getting online, there's a degree of technical capability, and also you've only got so much time, right? So you'll probably want to focus on running your business, and you'll want to leave some of the other stuff to partners to handle, which is where we come in, right? So if you want to do, Shopify kind of handles, I'd say 95% of every e-commerce business's needs, but there is this 5% where, businesses need to do custom integrations, or they need to do they need to create something very unique in the front end and create a really unique buying process, which isn't covered by a standard template, or they just want to offset the management of the store to somebody else because they've, that's more cost effective for them. And that's where Shopify Partners come in. We're kind of here to make sense of the platform, and to kind of, provide that kind of business support to the companies that are running stores.
So that's an ongoing continuous development venture.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, Inspire Digital, we're not here to talk all about them all day, but for sure, Inspire Digital is there to kind of make sure that, you as an e-commerce business stay competitive, because everybody's, your store's got to run fast. It's got to be, optimized for search engines. It's got to run smoothly in terms of conversion. You can get loads of traffic to a site. If it's not set up properly, then all that traffic will bounce, and, it's a waste the money. So there's a fine art to keeping the site running smoothly, converting highly, and obviously fresh and unique new content and stuff like that. So yeah, there's our clients work with us. Our clients are long time clients of us. They work with us for multiples of years now. We've created some great relationships on that side.
What do you think the future is for e-commerce? We were debating earlier as to the future of salespeople. You know, is everyone going to move just online? And it's interesting what Amazon are doing. So how much is there in importance in that sort of experience? But have we saturated e-commerce yet?
Saturated e-commerce yet? That's a really interesting question. I would say that e-commerce, I mean, is the default place to do business. And so it's going to be a situation where I think businesses need to innovate across lots of channels, right? So being online is simply not good enough now. Being online and being available everywhere the people who are going to buy from you are is important. So I don't think it's saturated. I just think it's going to become more innovative about how we handle customers. You know, for instance, one of the things I remember writing about actually was just after the pandemic. I wrote an article about sort of a post-pandemic guide for vendors, and one of the things that's kind of happened is that omni-channel used to be this thing, right, that was something that clever people did, right? But it's now an actual thing that every business has to do. You just can't have a site. You have to be available on social, in computer games, wherever your customer is, you have to be available for them. And obviously that's created a lot of competition, and that's where kind of Alvio comes in. Actually, one of the biggest things that I've seen, is that the cost of acquisition is going up now. You're trying to get attention, and everyone's online, and everyone's chasing attention, and everyone wants loyalty. So one of the things that we're finding is that cost of acquisition is getting harder and more expensive. And Alvio, because it allows you to create these kind of frictionless partnerships between a business that shares a similar audience or a similar brand ethic to you, you can kind of sidestep that into a new area of demand, or find a way to kind of create interest in product which wasn't available easily before, and that's going to be really important going forward, especially in an atmosphere where brands and suppliers and e-commerce people are going to have to really innovate and kind of to reach their audience.
The collaboration and partnership, perhaps that's where salespeople will move into to expand your contact base and people to buy the product.
Yeah, I mean, I can't state how important I think collaboration is going to be in the future, right? I think that, you've got so much going on in terms of, technological advancement. You've got a lot going on with the cryptocurrency space. And I think this whole, there's a movement to kind of like pushing out the value to the edge of the network, to the people on the network, rather than the value being tied in the middle. And so, yeah, I think collaboration is going to be a big one, and we're right there ready to take it on, right? That's what we're really excited for Alvio, is that it gives people tools to do that which traditionally would be very difficult to do between businesses.
It's quite funny, isn't it? Because I run a weekly global webinar for news media, and I've been banging on for years about this whole gladiator movie thing, where the last scene is they're all standing in a circle and the lions are coming to the arena and they're like, look, we either die alone or we fight together and win this. And
that's a fantastic scene, that is. Yeah.
But it's never happened, because I've always believed, especially in news media, there's been threats of people working together, being more collaborative, but in the end, politics and personalities have usually got in the way. But it's taken a pandemic, perhaps, to make that change, which is bizarre, really, in many ways. But because of the pandemic, a lot more people are being more collaborative now, media, and working with each other. And I guess it's a sort of similar world that you're working in that context.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I think coming from the Shopify sphere, collaboration has kind of always been part of the culture that we work in. I think that Shopify is kind of very much like that. But I think, I think the key here is that, everyone acts in their own interests. And I think that as long as you can keep those interests, aligned with people that you want to work with, and everyone is a win-win situation, then that's, you don't want any distortions between businesses working together. If it works for them, that's great. And so I think the outcome of that is, if you've got less distortion between businesses collaborating, of course they're acting in their own interests, everyone's trying to achieve, but the sum outcome is better for everybody, right? Because demand gets to where it needs to, the products are probably, there's less bullwhip effect in the process between consumer demand and being able to fulfill that if people are able to network together better. So there's lots of potential in that idea, I think. Yeah.
And I think where there's another overlap between what you guys are doing and what I'm doing is what's become really important now. We've got this setup of we can be more collaborative with each other. Is, we're moving towards this cookieless world, and the value of first-party data and what we do with it, and how we allow people to use it, etc., and how we can be contextually relevant, which is like the key buzz phrase at the moment. And I guess that again fits right into what you do.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, what's going on at the moment, you've got the situation where privacy in the browser is starting to become much more of a topic for people. People are less likely to give away their data, more likely to use something like Brave browser, or obviously, I think Apple have kind of almost devalued Facebook's advertising model overnight, haven't they, recently? So there's a lot going on that. And so you're building good relationships with people and your customers, and kind of maintaining those relationships is really important, because they're going to be even harder won over time. You just can't go into the pool of data and go, well, you can track everyone all over the web. It's going to become much much harder to do that. So good value products, obviously the whole thing to do with, ESG is coming down the road as well. So I think consumers are really keen to make sure that, both the products they consume and how they're being delivered is good for the environment, or, has a feel good factor to it from that point of view.
There's a lot of sort of new innovations out there in technology, and the use of AI, and we talked on this show about big data and crypto and in the past, and again you mentioned it earlier, I think, Luke, about cryptocurrency. Where does that fit into your world?
I think for us, obviously, what we're trying to do with Alvio is we're trying to create partnerships between businesses, and I kind of sort of link that back to kind of like a good undistorted relationship between people. There's nothing between you guys. If you got something that works between you, brilliant. And cryptocurrency is an interesting innovation, right? One of the things I think probably is the one that will really shine through will be Bitcoin. I think that's going to provide a really frictionless, free kind of transmission of value between partners, right? And then, so when businesses are working together, that's really important. To be able to kind of transact between each other with less friction is really great. So there's a number of innovations that I'm looking forward to, and I think we'll have some really important kind of applications in Alvio. One is obviously, invoicing, right? If you can have really, really slick invoicing between two businesses, for instance, we could have streaming payments. So for, I buy something and the commission of the person that I'm buying it from, my supplier, is kind of paid as the delivery is made. And you can have smart contracts being plugged into delivery, the actual item being delivered physically in the real world. And then we know that everything's been settled. There's no kind of like credit bubble between people. That would be amazing. Yeah, that's one of the places that we're looking to. There's the trust but verify side of it as well, which is that businesses coming onto the network can sometimes find it. One of the big things about collaboration is trust, right? That's always a big issue. You want to scope people out, so potentially using smart contracts or decentralized platforms, ideas from cryptocurrency. You can bring in this trust but verify scenario. So you could go in and you can see the businesses on our Alvio network are trustworthy and ready to trade with, and that gives you an extra layer of confidence when you're going to start partnering with somebody on the Alvio network. So there's loads, there are infinite opportunities on this side. It's going to be fascinating.
I think trust is the biggest one of all, as you've said there. Again, in the world I've been operating, it's just trust has come through things like pandemics, that news media is being trusted by people, where there's so much fake news, whether it's on social media sites or whatever. They don't know what to believe anymore. And there's so much false news around pandemics and vaccinations and everything else. People just don't know what to trust anymore. And one thing which has come through is media's being quite trusted in what they've reported, and they've relied on all of that and come through, hopefully shining, but we'll see. But trust is huge, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's I kind of, in a digital world, it's the kind of foundation of what we do. I mean, it's one of those things that we've gone into this world where information just charges around everywhere, and everyone can have an opinion that can be broadcast to 1,000 million people, right? And I think, boy, going back to where you're talking about AI and cryptocurrency and proof and trust, all that kind of stuff, I think we're going to need robust solutions for that, so that we can determine individually, what's good data and what's bad data. And actually going back to what we're doing as Alvio, if you can come into the Alvio network and all these businesses are there to work together, and they're there, and they're on their best behavior because they're part of the Alvio network. If you're kind of not good, if you're not a good participant, you're not going to stay in there for very long. That kind of is a trust. That's that brings some trust. I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah. So I'm interested now. So how did Ian and Luke, how do you guys get together in the first place? What started all of this?
Ian, do you want to take I've talked for a very long time, Ian. You want to jump in there?
Well, let me see if I can compete there, Luke. So yes, we were actually introduced in fairly early stage, probably about 2 or 3 months after Luke and the team at Inspira got really focused on Alvio. So we're talking April, May during the first lockdown, and I was in the process of setting up a very separate business. I was looking for a company to build a Shopify platform for me, and as it happened, like Mike and Luke were looking for somebody to become involved and help commercialize the Alvio business, and I saw the opportunity. I mean, I'm a brand guy at heart, so this really brings me back to the center of what I do, and that is help brands find consumers and consumers find brands. And we took the decision actually then to spin Alvio as a proposition outside of Inspira Digital and set up a separate business to then take it to market. And I became involved then in funding the business, identifying some initial seed investment that took us through the beta phase, and then we worked with some initial brands that were friendlies to really prove the MVP and the beta version. And we soft launched last July. So that's really how we became involved together. It was a good coming together of three individuals who I think we all complement each other very, very well.
Yeah.
I was going to agree with that. I mean, Ian brings a certain degree of gravitas to mine and Mike's young outlook.
What are you saying?
I think he's saying I'm the oldest of the three of us. So
experienced is the word.
That's the word.
So we've gone from that soft launch back in July. We've got about 50 brands now that are either in the pipeline.
Question, yeah. How many brands do you have on board now? Yeah,
so we're live or in the pipeline with about 50 brands, and that covers about 15 different product categories. So everything from, as you'd expect, fashion, cosmetics, and accessories, which is a really big part of e-commerce, and particularly Shopify. But what we're also seeing is we're bringing brands in a whole mixture of different areas from the music industry. We're just onboarding a business right now that is a big player in music equipment and DJ equipment and headphones and speakers and microphones and all sorts. And they're looking to collaborate with record labels and DJs and guys out there that have got their own merch sites, for example, and they're looking to sort of cross collaborate the different products together in that particular sphere. We're also working with a business that's very tapped into the sports merchandise world, who has the license for a lot of major sports brands, and they're looking to again broaden their presence within e-commerce. We've got men's grooming products, we've got babies and children's. CBD is a big growing area in e-commerce right now.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorites, actually, and we're just in the early stages of setting up a business which is the UK's largest supplier of e-scooters to the fast food delivery sector. So they're working with all the major fast food delivery brands that you could imagine, from Domino's pizzas to Just Eat to a whole range of different brands, and they supply these electric scooters, which these guys use to go and do the last mile delivery through. But at the moment, all they do is scooters. And what they want to do is to create a hub for all their clients, where they, as well as scooters, start supplying all the protective clothing, the helmets, the gloves, the boots, etc., etc. So what we're enabling them to do is to go from being a one SKU product to multiple SKUs. And for them, it takes all the risk away from having to buy in these products and put them in a warehouse and do all the pick, pack and dispatch. It also enables them to try these different categories, increase the spend value of their clients buying from them, and long term also create a much more sticky relationship with their clients, because they're bringing them into that central location to buy a much broader range of products from them. Wow. I think that's going to be a very interesting one, because it also demonstrates some other use cases for Alvio that go beyond the obvious ones.
And can I say, so for anyone, this is a two-part question, this, I guess. So for anybody listening or watching here now, and they want to either A, just learn more about Alvio, or B, even be part of your sort of pioneer program, how do they go about doing that? So,
do you want to take that one, Ian?
Yeah, I'll step in there. Yeah. What we're doing at the moment is we're working very much by invitation with a selection of brands. Generally speaking, they are coming to us either through personal recommendation, or we're finding them because they fit with the sort of profile that we're looking for. The idea right now is to build a qualitative network, or a quality network to start with. And then we are working with those brands to then help them find collaborations that work for them. So finding brands that are complementary to what they do, that are reaching a similar audience, similar demographic audience, bringing them together. I mean, you could think of us as the Tinder for e-commerce in that respect. You know, we're bringing these parties together. And then over time, we're helping them to start to build their network, and then that will start to develop, and then eventually we will release Alvio to the wild. You know, it will go out there for all and sundry. But we have a website, which is alvio.network, which has lots of information on there, so people can reach us through there. They can reach us through LinkedIn as well. Both Luke and I are very active on LinkedIn. We're starting to develop content within the LinkedIn profile for Alvio. And over the next few weeks, we'll be publishing articles around the subject of e-commerce, moving into C-commerce, collaborative commerce, talking about the future of collaborative commerce and what that means for brands. And we'll start to talk about the brands that we're working with as well, and giving some good examples of some case studies. So we're starting to see some brands we're working with now start to produce some really interesting and very successful collaborations.
Excellent, yeah. Well, listen, we'll look forward just to how that develops in future. Penny's got something else as well.
Just one last quick question. So I'm asking everyone I know at the moment about crypto, and you've mentioned it, but cryptocurrency, I know it's a big question, but is it going to be a thing? I know it already is a thing, but is it going to be mass market? And if so, how long will it be until it is so? And should I invest?
And Penny wants to know, does she cash in the value of her house and put it all on?
Absolutely.
Either black or red.
It's time to get that crystal ball out, guys.
Look, my take on it is this. I suppose I've been interested in cryptocurrency since 2017. I knew about it earlier than that, actually. And funny enough, a little story about that is that we were all talking about this in 2014 when Bitcoin was, I think it was about $100 at the time, and we were trying to work out how to buy some, right? And then we got distracted. How I wish I could go back and change that, right? Look, I think there's a lot going on in the cryptocurrency space. I think Bitcoin is one of the things that I think a lot of people are missing about Bitcoin is it's actually a monetary network. So it's the parallel here is if you think of the web when it first happened, and you kind of had, you know, computers connecting together. That was the dematerialization of information into a network. What Bitcoin is doing is dematerializing financial money and worth into a network. And so you've got huge, I guess, innovation going on online, and information being able to transfer at the speed of light and easily across borders and around the world. And here you've got Bitcoin kind of bumping into all of the old school systems of, I guess, border control, and there's lots of stakeholders when money moves around the world. Okay, and Bitcoin is kind of come along and it's gone, right, here is a way to transfer value peer to peer without without a third party. And it's finding value at this particular moment as an alternative to gold. It's becoming a store of value. But there's also other aspects that are going on, such as the Lightning Network, which is a layer 2 solution to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin at the very basis is quite slow and clunky. It takes about an hour to confirm a transaction, even though you can move $1 million from London to New York in an hour, probably for about 10 quid, right? You can't do that with gold. But that's still, for kind of like the Visa kind of transaction stuff that's going on, which is happening, thousands of times a second. That's not fast enough. So you've got what's going on is the Lightning Network, which is this kind of super fast settlement layer called a level 2 layer, and that's going to enable all sorts of incredible innovation. So and bear in mind, I'll caveat this, is I'm fairly maximalist about Bitcoin. I kind of think it's going to be the one that wins out on all levels. You have Ethereum as well, which is kind of a very interesting concept, but it's much more complex and it's got some very interesting ideas. But I think that it's trying to do too many things for and potentially it may well have some innovation or some aspects on it. For instance, you've got NFTs going on, which is quite interesting. That's a fascinating thing. What NFTs are going to become, whether they're going to become the new way of displaying art in the digital world, whether they're going to be some form of a kind of identity online. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see that. It's such a nascent early stage at the moment. But so you've got kind of Bitcoin, which is like the value, like the base level of value, I think, of money and the monetary network, and then you've got Ethereum and then everything innovating on top of that. So to answer your question, I would absolutely hold some Bitcoin, because if you think about it, the gold market's 10 trillion in value. If the value goes to the millennials, and the millennials decide that Bitcoin is where they're going to hold their value, well, Bitcoin's going to be worth a lot more than it is right now. I mean, of course, it's volatile, right? But you're going to hold it, and you're going to hold it for a long time. I think that if you're thinking 5-10 years, that's probably a good thing. But that's my take on it. I think with Ethereum and the NFTs, there's going to be a lot of innovative business models on those, and they're more risky. They're kind of like going out to early stage growth businesses, I think. But yeah, it's a fascinating industry and really, really exciting.
It's very fast at the moment. All the kids are into it. They've all got their apps. They're all investing in bull runs and all this terminology. And I just feel, while it's that complicated and that many people dipping into it, it will crash and burn in bits. But
yes,
I tend to feel that it is going to be a thing. It's just, and everything moves so fast. So probably within the next 5 years.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think 5 to 10 years. And I think that one of the big things we've got to get through is the regulation. I think you've got, you've got the people in the government who are kind of chasing to catch up with this and working out how to regulate it and how it should be regulated. And I think there's a lot of things going on there which will accelerate in the next few years.
Yeah, they can't cope with Facebook at the moment, can they? Let alone this.
No, it's
around the world.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I mean, I think it's just a fascinating time, isn't it? We've got so many things going on, in society, in technology, and information. It's just a fascinating time, I think.
It is. I just hope I won't be too old to embrace it. I'm trying to keep up.
Never too old.
No. Just own a little bit of Bitcoin and keep an eye on it. I think that's the way to do it.
I will take that advice. Thank you so much. It's been really interesting.
Well, guys, it's been a great chat.
It's
great to talk about the future of commerce too, because it's very much dear to our hearts and dear to my heart and the media companies I deal with. you know, and the future of it. I don't think anyone really knows for sure exactly where it's all going to end up, but it's just, I think you're either scared or you're excited by it all, and I'm really excited by it all. I can't wait to see what's next. But I think you're leading part of that charge, so thanks for coming on and sharing your story.
Very much. Yeah.
Really. No, cheers, Mark. Cheers, Penny.
It's it reminds me, you know, someone's just to end on a funny really. Someone sent me a I was doing a thing on commerce recently for the news association. Someone sent me a cartoon, which was if you can imagine a store, and there's a couple, a married couple pushing the trolley around the store, and they're both in their underwear and they're taking stuff off the shelves and putting it in. Someone gives them a double look, and the guy of the couple turns to the other woman and he says, "We usually shop in the comfort of our own home, but the bloody computer crashed."
I like that one. That's
anyway,
great.
On that note, thank you so much for coming on. And we'll speak again. We'd love to catch up with you again about how it's all going. Maybe, you know, this time next year, see where you're at then.
Definitely. Well, a year should be good enough to take over the world, right, Ian?
Come back and see it.
Well, I've gone beyond Shopify by then too, because we'll be going into other platforms too. So we'll keep you updated on what's happening.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for your time.
Have a great day.
You too, guys.
And thanks. Enjoy your holiday, Ian.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. So there we go, Pam.
And look into the future, Mark.
Look into the future, indeed. Yeah. It's an interesting business model they've got going there, isn't it? It's it never ceases to fascinate me, the amount of people in a space like theirs.
Yeah.
Things that you would never dream of. And certainly from a business point, you'd never do them, say, 4 or 5 years ago, and what they're doing is incredible, really.
And so adaptable. And so, you know, by embracing blockchain, crypto, you know, etc., they are on the edge of being able to absolutely move with everything that's going on. So really, really great interview. Yeah.
So that's it for another show. Another
Indeed.
good show.
Don't forget ukbrandshow.co.uk for all our wonderful shows.
Indeed.
And obviously we're on YouTube as well.
And on Mixcloud, and you can find us in lots of different places. And we've just lined up a guest coming up in next month, I think, who anyone who's watched the show before may recognize the name of Earl Wilkinson, who is the CEO, talking of news media earlier, he's a CEO of the association I'm attached to, called the International News Media Association. So he's going to come on and talk about where news media is today, you know, the likes of the Telegraph or the Times of India, the New York Times, what the big focus for them is now, what going forward, and how they're going to drive and monetize their future post-pandemic. So he's a fascinating speaker as well. So everyone should. It's going to be great. So that's it. Thank you for joining us, everyone. And we'll see you again very soon.
See you all soon.
Bye for now.
Bye.